Anime is known for giving a lot of emotions: hype, adrenaline, anger, happiness. We cannot ignore the feeling of nostalgia, sadness, or depression that it gives off as well. Today, we're speaking of the 10 depressing anime that will definitely make you cry. All of these anime have either a tear-jerking moment at its ending or at the climax that can surely bring you to tears. However, before we start preparing that tissue box and diving into this video, remember that we plan on bringing more watch lists like this, so don't forget to subscribe to our channel as you go along. Without further delay, let's get started. Number 10. Tokyo Magnitude 8.0.
パパ見て。
ママも未来もそっくりだな。
パパだ。
People living outside of Japan will have heard of earthquakes happening there, but will never be able to experience the horror unless they're actually there in person when it happens. Tokyo Magnitude 8.0 is an anime series that manages to show the consequences of earthquakes in Japan. One day, a magnitude 8.0 earthquake hits 25 kilometers below the Sea of Tokyo, causing havoc and separating two siblings from their parents. The children are assisted by a single mother and Mari, who is also making her way to her own mother and daughter. In their journey, the wayward group finds solace and comfort in one another, eventually growing together as a family unit. This anime provides a realistic, horrifying look at what could happen should an earthquake that size hit Tokyo. It is a depiction of the wrath of Mother Nature, but also shows the resilience of the human spirit through the eyes of the two siblings. Number 9. STEINS Gate.
ねえねえオカリン、あのね、起きているのに夢を見たことってある？
Moving on to number 9, we have STEINS Gate, which might be a surprise to some of you who think that this is science fiction, but behind that genius time travel storytelling is also a rather depressing story about death and loss. Okabe Rintaro discovers a way to change past events by sending something called D-mails. He is able to use them and change the way time and events in the past unfolded, but there are some serious consequences. To save his childhood friend Mayuri from dying, Okabe needs to race against time to find the solution. He then comes to a point where he must choose between saving Mayuri or Makise, the love of his life who had been helping him all this time. If that sounds like a tough choice, wait until you find out that Makise is also the first girl he saved when he sent out the first D-mail. Watching Okabe and Makise grow increasingly desperate as time runs out is enough to break even the manliest man. Number 8. Higurashi When They Cry.
全てのことを俺に教えようとしていたのかもしれない。これから起こる。
Higurashi isn't a sad anime, I can assure you that, but at the end of each story arc, you'll get that same depressed feeling you got when you watched the ending of School Days. It is the story about a boy named Keiichi who travels to the fictional village of Hinamizawa and befriends 4 girls with a rather mysterious background. He soon gets to know about a mystery in the village where the people are being killed or disappearing at the end of the Watagashi festival. The unique thing about this anime is its storytelling and pacing. It pulls up some twists at the end of each arc that can leave you quite depressed as you see the characters you started to like gradually go insane. It is one of those psychological thriller anime that can genuinely make you depressed. Number 7. Silent Voice.
あのさ、俺と西宮、友達に。
Chances are you've heard of this and have passed off this anime down in your watch list just because you know it's sad. It is rare to see anime adapting the disabled girl trope, since most anime these days focus on creating the perfect female character. But this movie is the story of a deaf girl and a rather depressed boy. A Silent Voice is about making you feel uncomfortable and how you must accept other people's shortcomings. Shoko is a deaf girl who is constantly harassed because she cannot hear. She experiences the pain of losing her newly made friends by having to transfer schools, and the process repeats itself a couple of times. At one point, the school bully, Shoya, does something horrible to Shoko, and ends up becoming hated by the whole school. He is shunned and avoided wherever he goes. Finally, in his 3rd year of high school, Shoya decides to make up for his past mistakes and goes on a journey to find Shoko, and to properly apologize to her. It is a heartwarming film into how the deaf deal with daily pressures of life, and it also shows how happy all of us can make them feel if we only cared for them a little more. The movie may start with a depressed main character, but it ends with making you that depressed character. Number 6. Your Lie in April.
14歳の春、僕は君と走り出す。
Despite the name, Your Lie in April touches on the subject of death, mourning on how to move on in life. Featuring a child piano prodigy called Kosei, he eventually loses his ability to hear his own piano's notes after the death of his mother. The very thing he is good at soon becomes meaningless to him until he meets Kaori one day, who is a lively violinist. Kaori helps Kosei to fall in love with music all over again, and how it should be freely played. Kosei ends up falling in love with Kaori, but their love story doesn't get to run too much far away. Your Lie in April may start off as a regular slice-of-life romance anime, but it doesn't take long for the sadness and melancholy to kick into the story. And I don't want to spoil you on the ending, but it isn't going to be a happy one. Number 5. CLANNAD.
この街は嫌いだ。忘れたい思い出が染みついた場所だから。
If you're browsing for sad and depressing anime, then CLANNAD will pop up somewhere in every search result. This is another well-known sad anime out in the field, and it consists of 2 seasons. If you watched the first season and thought that was sad, the second one is even worse. Make sure you prepare your box of tissues beside you, and I would recommend having more than one box. The underlying topic revolves around family, adulthood, and overcoming difficult challenges. We follow the lives of the characters as they progress, and the toils and hardships they find in their life. During their journey, they are faced with many obstacles that will challenge their love for one another to the very limit, so be prepared for the intervention of tragedy and fate. Number 4. Angel Beats. All comedies don't end on a funny note. The best example for that statement is Angel Beats. The anime starts by showing a boy named Otanashi who wakes up in the afterlife. He's officially dead, but with a mysterious girl with a rifle soon comes to meet him. Calling herself Yuri, she explains to him that they're in a fight against God and his henchwoman, who is the student body president called Angel. The first half starts off like a comedy with plenty of funny moments, and as things start to intensify, the anime turns dark pretty soon. The more battles that Otanashi fights against Angel, the more he questions who the actual villains are. Eventually they find out that the spirits of everyone in the school have a grudge they cannot let go when they are alive, and Angel is there to help them move on. It's going to be sad and depressing when you witness the characters you've grown to love disappear one by one as they proceed to the afterlife. Number 3. Anohana, the flower we saw that day.
あの頃の夏はこんなんじゃなかった。
Some anime in this list may start off as rather lighthearted, but Anohana is popular for making the viewer cry at the end of each episode. Anohana takes a closer look at the delicate topic of friendship, life, and how it comes to terms with it. It features a group of childhood friends who lost one of their other friends, Menma, at a young age. As the group grows into teenagers, they start to drift apart further and further, but they still harbor feelings of guilt towards Menma's death. Now, back as a ghost, Menma finds that she is unable to move on until she helps her friends come to terms with her death, and to get them back together as a group. We know that by the end, Menma disappears having accomplished her mission, but it's still heartbreaking to see it happen, and to see how each of her friends slowly comes to terms with her death. Number 2. 5 centimeters per second. Coming second in our list, we have 5 centimeter per second. It was directed by Makoto Shinkai, whom, if you don't know, was the director behind Your Name and Weathering with You. 5 centimeters per second was his earliest film, and one that is far more depressing than his later two. Being forgotten is one of the most hardest facts of life to come to terms with, and this is the concept the movie revolves around. This movie is about 2 friends who are seen slowly being torn apart by life, despite their best efforts to stay in touch with each other. However, despite all this, they never lose their memory of one another and what the other person means to them. Apart from the heartwarming and melancholic story, the movie also has spectacular animation. Each frame of the movie is like a wallpaper you could get lost in. This film perfectly captures the facts of life, where moments don't always last forever, and things will change for better or for worse. It is a beautiful, meaningful, and tragic movie that should not be missed. Number 1. Grave of the Fireflies. Grave of the Fireflies is like that sour pill you swallow that glues into your throat and itches the entire time. Basically, without metaphors, it means that this is the king of all sad anime. This film is set in the days when World War II was ending, and famine has swept the town that Seita and his younger sister Setsuko are living in. The atrocities of war leaves them homeless and orphaned. Left to fight for their own survival in countryside of Japan, their optimism makes you think that they might just survive this ordeal. If they did, though, you wouldn't have seen this anime in today's list. This is an extremely depressing yet utterly meaningful and beautiful movie about the repercussions of war and the relationship between siblings. You definitely need to watch this at least once, and I bet on everything that when the end credits of the film rolls, there will be tears in your eyes. So what did you think of my list? Did you find an anime that could soak you in tears? Let us know down below in the comments section what you're planning to watch first, and don't forget to remind anything that we missed. And if you haven't joined our growing community, make sure you hit the subscribe button along with the bell notification to stay updated. That being said, hope you guys stay safe, and stay tuned for the next video. We'll see you then.